Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? It is currently about 6:15 p.m. on this very hot, very muggy Thursday evening, and I just got done watching back my video that I made for my Peter Monn channel. I also filmed a Peterisms channel today. I was going to do a review video and a Peter Does Stuff video, but I think I'm going to wait until tomorrow to do that. And I am going to film this vlog and then start rendering this vlog. So, I was uploading my video on my phone, and I got a couple calls from people, and whenever that happens, like, it kind of like stops the uploading process. I know that I could like stop the calls from coming in, which I never do, and I always forget to do. So when I watch the video back, the video is very long. It's like 54 minutes and 30 seconds or 10 seconds or something like that. So I watched the video back, and I thought by the time that I got the video done, because I watched it back at 1x speed because I was watching on my computer, I thought by the time that I got it done that the video would be uploaded, and I went inside and I looked, and it was like 17 hours. And I was like, oh my god. Because whenever anybody calls while I'm uploading videos, it like stops that process. So anyway, it doesn't matter. It'll get up sooner or later. But now I'm filming my vlog. I don't know how long this vlog is going to be. I'm like in a very relaxed state today. I'm feeling very calm, very peaceful. I had a lot to say in that video, and so when I got it done, I was like, whew. So tonight, I want to take a little bit of a nap, and then I want to listen to some of my audiobook. I want to eat dinner. I haven't even ordered dinner yet, but I'm going to probably order Piada. And then I'm going to, last night I ate, I'll tell you about that in a second. And then I'm going to finish watching this true crime documentary that I've been watching on Max, HBO Max, called Burden of Proof. I think I'm on like halfway through the 3rd episode, and there's 4 episodes. It's actually, it's very good. It's very interesting. Maybe I finished the 3rd episode last night, yeah, I think I finished the 3rd episode last night, so I think I just have the 4th episode. So I'm going to watch that, and then I'm going to watch Cruel Summer, the newest episode that came out. And then I don't know what I'm going to watch. I Google searched last night, like, best true crime documentaries that just came out or whatever. And so it went in, and this article that I found listed, like, all these true crime documentaries, many of which weren't brand new. Like, it had The Lady and the Dale on there, which I'd actually watched earlier in the year, but that came out a long time ago. But I screenshot 5 or 6 different documentaries that I want to watch. So I'm kind of in this mood to watch some true crime documentaries. So very spooky, scary documentary. So I'm going to pick one of those after I get done with Burden of Proof and watch that after I get done with Cruel Summer. So, yeah. Last night, I ordered 2 pastas and a sandwich and a Parmesan stick from Piada. And I don't know if I told you guys this the other night or not, but they have 2 different kinds of sticks at Piada. They have, like, they're like these long, flat breadsticks. Well, not even really breadsticks, they're just like these flat sticks. And one they have is a Parmesan stick, and then the other one, which is very flat, and the other, and you dip it in like this Chipotle. Well, you get the different options for what you can dip it in. But one of the options is, like, they can dip it in marinara or ranch or whatever, but one of the options that they have is like this Chipotle, spicy Chipotle mayonnaise or spicy Chipotle ranch or something like that. And that's what Alex gets, so that's what I got. Alex gets, so they have the Parmesan stick and then they have the pepperoni stick. Alex gets the pepperoni stick. So I'm very careful that I make sure that I get the Parmesan stick that has no meat in it, right? So the other night I sat down to eat, and I always split it in half because it's about this long. I think I showed it on here the other day. I always split it in half. And so I was sitting down there eating, and I was watching a drag pageant, as I often do, while I'm eating, and I looked down, and the breadstick was thicker than it usually is, and it's kind of like folded over, you know, kind of like a burrito, but very thin, and like it's like that thin. And so I was looking at it, and there was like something sticking out of the end of it, and I was like, this is interesting. So I was like, I started opening it, and it had like layers of pepperoni on it, and I was like, oh god. So I didn't order the stick for like the next 2 days because I was like, okay, I don't want to keep on ordering this stick. And I didn't complain about it. I'm not that person. I was just like, whatever. Probably I maybe should have, I don't know, but I didn't complain because I felt like it was probably just an honest mistake. But I didn't order the stick, which I love, because the Parmesan stick, because I was like, I don't want to get another pepperoni one and waste my money. But last night I got one and it didn't, I rolled it open and looked at it. It didn't have any pepperoni in it, thank God. But I got the Diavolo pasta, which is like spicy, and I got it with penne, and it was delicious. I ate that first with the pepperoni stick, and I ate half of my sandwich, my avocado piada with no bacon or no meat or anything in it, no grilled items. And I watched a Miss Continental, part of a Miss Continental pageant. And then after that, I was like so full, and I laid down and got Boo Radley in the bed and got him all settled and all that kind of stuff. He was kind of excited last night. I'm not really sure why. I think he thought like Alex was coming home and all this kind of stuff, and so he kept on like running to the edge of the bed and like looking at the door, and I was like, and it was funny because, so Alex FaceTimed us last night, and he was like talking to Boo. Like, I mean, Boo has no, you know, idea, like looking at the phone. Like, he doesn't, I don't know that he sees Alex. He heard Alex's voice, but he kept on looking at the door, like he was confused. And so it was kind of cute. But anyway, so he settled on Alex's pillow, and I laid down because I was like, okay, I want to get at least a nap. Like, I'm tired, so I want to get a nap in. And I set my alarm for like an hour and 45 minutes because I was like, I'm going to get a good nap. This was like, and this was at like, I think 9 o'clock I laid down. So I set my alarm to get up at like 10:45. And I fell asleep, and right as I fell asleep, Boo Radley like jumped up and ran to the edges of the bed. And he kept on like jumping up and like, I mean, he was like so nervous last night. I don't know what was going on, but every time I would fall asleep, he would like run to the edge of the bed. And so my nap, I get like 10 or 15 minutes of sleep, and then I would wake up. I get 10 or 15 minutes of sleep, then I wake up. So finally I just was like, I'm gonna get up. So I got up earlier than my alarm went off. I took him outside. He ate a bunch more of his dinner and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, he had eaten dinner earlier, but he ate some more dinner. And so got him all settled. Then when I put him into bed, then he was like tired after all of that, the napping and all this kind of stuff. Somebody asked me yesterday, they said, do you ever get scared when Alex is out of town? Because I would be scared. I don't. I mean, you know, I think I used to back in the day. Not really scared, but like I don't sleep well when he's not here, just because of like, I sleep better when he's in the bed next to me. It's just very comforting to me. I don't really have that problem anymore. Last night I like spread my legs way out in the bed and all that kind of stuff. But we have, Alex has put up, I've talked about this on here, and we had some cameras before, but this is in response to what has happened. Alex put up cameras all over our house, in the front and in the back, and in front of our garage and things like that, and floodlights and stuff like that. And I have that on my phone, and he has it on his phone, and we both get notifications like anytime something, like even if an animal, like our neighbor's dog, like whenever it runs in the backyard, it like sets it off like constantly. So no, I'm not like, I don't get afraid. You know, whatever. I sit right out here. I can see any car that comes in the neighborhood, and between the hours of like 10 p.m. and like 2 a.m., very rarely does anybody come down. And if they do, it's usually they're coming home, and they usually go to the right, not the left, and they don't drive in front of me. I mean, every once in a blue moon, I think I've even like filmed it on here when somebody like goes real slow by, but like that's happened very rarely. You know, I can sit out here for long hours and watch shows, and plus this is like all lit up out here, and the floodlights and stuff like that. I mean, it's very well lit, but I can sit out here for long periods of time, and like nobody ever comes down the street or anything in a car. So and we're really far from the entrance, so you would have to like walk a long distance if you were so no, I don't worry about that. I'm not really that scared when Alex is gone. Like I said, I used to kind of be a little bit, but that was when I watched like a lot of horror shows and horror movies and stuff like that. I don't know, I just, you know, I've stayed enough alone now that I don't really get that scared. Plus my neighbors are, you know, they're like very light sleepers and things like that, and they all know that Alex is out of town, and they check on me constantly. And so I mean, if I had to like, you know, call them or whatever, I mean, they're literally like 10 feet away from me, and they would be over here in a heartbeat, you know. So no, that doesn't, I don't get scared when Alex is gone. So last night we took a nap, and then I got up, and then I talked on the phone for quite some time. And what did I watch last night? I wish The Lincoln Lawyer was back out. I'm like ready to watch The Lincoln Lawyer. Last night I watched, I think like an episode or two. I think I watched 2 episodes of Burden of Proof. I I don't remember. I feel like I watched something else too, but now I can't think about what I watched. Did my prayers, did my meditations. I talked to Tanya on the phone for a long time. Talked to some other people. And then I watched that. And then I ended up going to sleep. I drank a cup of sleepy time tea and I went to sleep about 4:30. It didn't take me long to fall asleep last night, so I laid there for a little bit, turned a couple times, and then that's the last thing I remember. So it must not have taken me very long to fall asleep last night. But I was real tired yesterday. Even though I had taken a nap, I was still real tired. So, like, when people say, like, does it napping or not napping, like, sometimes I feel like it does play into it, sometimes I feel like it doesn't. Like, I took a nap last night, and I did sleep, even though Boo kept on waking me up, but I fell asleep pretty easily last night, so, yeah. And, got up today, and I had outlined my whole video for my Peter and Monn channel. Took Boo out, had some iced coffee, did some reading online about this video that I wanted to make. Oh, I just got this Izzy Sparkling Mango, so I'm going to drink this. I've already had one of the mango ones. I don't dislike the mango, but I wouldn't say, like, the apple would definitely be my favorite. Of all of them that I've had, I'd say the apple's my favorite. Then it's a close tie for second between the strawberry and the blackberry. And then the mango, and then the clementine. I really don't like the clementine. The clementine tastes like sparkling orange juice to me, and I love orange juice, but for some reason, I always keep a paper towel out here so I can take the sweat off of. I like clean off the table constantly, and do you guys always have to have a clean area? Oh, speaking of that, there was something I wanted to say. But yeah, for some reason I don't like the clementine. I don't know why. I mean, it's not bad. I'll drink it. But it's not my favorite. Like, I would definitely buy the other ones. I think in the future I would probably just get the apple. I really like the apple. But since I bought 3 boxes of them that have 3 cases that have, like, well, not cases, but they have 4 in each, I'm going to continue to drink them. So, yesterday when Alex left, like, and I got up, like, the first thing I did was, like, make the bed real nice, clean the bathroom, clean the kitchen. Do you guys do that? Like, Tanya always talks about when her husband goes out of town, like, the first thing she does is, like, clean the whole kitchen, clean the bedroom, make the bed really nice, light candles, clean the living room so she can just, like, have a really nice space. Do you guys do that? Like, that's always the first thing I do when Alex leaves, is I make it, like, real nice and homey and all that kind of stuff. So, did all that yesterday. Yeah, and then today I, like, did that and drank some iced coffee, and then filmed my video, and then been uploading my video. While it was, like, rendering, I filmed a Peterisms video, responding to some questions that I got or comments, and then rendered that, and then started uploading it. I think it's probably done. And then talked to Alex for a while, and he was filling me in on his trip and stuff like that, and he and Fufu, my brother-in-law, were hanging out, and so yeah, so that's been about my day. And then I'm gonna, when I get done vlogging, I'm gonna order my Piada, hopefully, if my video is done, and then eat and take a little bit of a nap, and then watch some shows tonight. So it's gonna be, and then listen to my audiobook. I looked last night, I have 2 hours and 55 minutes, 2 hours and 50 or 2 hours and 55 minutes in my audiobook. So my plan is to get it done this weekend, and then at the beginning of the week, to start Low Country Boil, and hopefully have that done by the middle of the week, and then start the True Crime Book Club on Fox Hollow Farm. So I have all of that done by the end of next week. My reading has really slowed down a lot since we got back from vacation. I was kind of on a roll. Let me pull you guys in a little closer. I was kind of on a roll. Where am I at on time? I was kind of on a roll of reading or listening to audiobooks. And then, like, I got back and I started watching my shows, which is interesting because I watched my shows when I was on vacation too, you know. But I got back and it all just kind of, like, started slowing down. So I need to get back to listening to my audiobooks and getting back into the groove of that again. And I actually just got my credits on Audible, so I was, like, tempted to buy books. I was like, don't buy any books until you start listening to some of these books, because you have 400 books that you haven't read in your library, so you don't need to buy any more books. I do need to buy and this is probably what my credits will go to, I do need to buy the books for the August books for Peter's Book Club, which, if you didn't know, I don't know if I talked about this or not, but I think it was yesterday. I'd actually filmed my Peterisms video that I posted yesterday. I filmed it the day before, then I forgot to post it. I don't know how. So I posted it yesterday, but I also filmed Peter Book was it yesterday or the day before? I think it was the day before. A Peter's Book Club video announcing the August books for a True Crime Book Club and for Peter's Book Club. So if you want to know what those books are, go over and watch the video. I got a little bit of sun yesterday, I think. I announced what those books are for the book clubs, Peter's Book Club or True Crime Book Club and Peter's Book Club for August. So if you want to know what those are, I picked another cozy mystery for Peter's Book Club for August. Not the same series, but I also explained in there about thinking about continuing that series as kind of like a series on my channel, like Peter Likes Books channel. What did I call my channel? Peter's BookTube? Did I call it that? My Peter Likes Books channel, about continuing reading that series because so many people love Low Country Boil. There was like only like 1 or 2 people that said that they didn't like it. Everybody else was like just completely enthralled and loved it, and so they thought it was great and wanted to continue to read it. I do need to make a correction though, and I'll do this in my next BookTube video too, but I said that the book that I picked for August for Peter's Book Club, I said there were only 3 books in the series, but apparently there are 9 or 10, I think there are 9 or 10. There's only 3 on Audible, so I was just looking at the Audible. I wasn't looking at the Goodreads when I said that, so, but I'll correct that in my next video that I do. I think I'm going to do a video talking about the Misfortune books, because I'm almost caught up, and the next one comes out, I think this week or next. I already pre-ordered it on Audible, so it'll be in my library like that, and then I'll be tempted to read that, and you know how it is. But anyway, having a very peaceful day. It was actually supposed to rain all day today. My neighbor across the street, I was talking to them for a while, and I asked them what they had for dinner, and now I can't remember what they had for dinner. They had already eaten. But it looked real cloudy earlier. Now it's real pretty. It's like there's just like a spotting of clouds out, and it's blue skies, and it's been so hot today that I was thinking about going to the pool with one of my, not those neighbors, but one of my other neighbors. But it kept on looking like it was going to rain, and then it cleared up, and he actually looked on his weather app, and he was like, well, it's supposed to be thunderstorms at 5:30, and when I started watching my video back, because I brought my computer out here, it did start to rain at about 20 after 5, just like sprinkling a little bit, but then it just passed real quick, which I'm kind of thankful for, to be honest with you, because my plants, like my fern and this other plant over here that are underneath the front porch, I mean, I watered them, so they're fine, but the other 4, like I watered them, and then it poured down rain the next 2 nights, and so they are drenched. They don't need any more rain or water or anything. Now, these plants down here are doing real well, but the red ones look like they've been overwatered. Like, there was like 2 days where they just looked like they were dying. Now they're starting to kind of come back a little bit, and I think like in another day or 2, they'll look, the peonies or whatever they are, the impatiens, like they're doing, I don't think they're impatiens. They're doing really good. But these 2 over here, I think they were just like drenched with the thunderstorms, because they are like out where they can get rain, and I had just watered them. So at least I don't need to water my plants for a little while. But I don't think that one, and the fern, I definitely probably need to water tomorrow or the next day. But it's doing still really good. I love ferns. Ferns are so pretty, aren't they? My mom always had ferns outside in the summer. She kept them down, though. She didn't hang them. She kept them down, if I remember correctly, like on her front porch. She also had these big, like, she didn't do a lot of, like, landscaping, because we had boxwoods that were, like, square boxwoods, like, in either side of our brick courtyard. And then we had crabapple trees. And then, like, on either side, like, there was, like, 2 brick steps down from our front door. And, like, on either side, like, in the fall, she would put mums. And in the summer, I can't remember, I think she did put impatiens or something, like the big, like, you know, the clay pots of impatiens. But then she would have ferns too. But what's interesting is that in our porch, that wasn't like a screened-in porch or anything. I've talked about this a lot. It was like a room that had 3 sides that were crank-out windows with brick walls. I mean, it was a room in our house, but we just called it the porch because it was like green carpeting and all that kind of stuff. I mean, people talk about 3 seasons. I mean, this was an all-season room. It had, like, heat, air conditioning. It was, like, you know, part of the house and whatever. And it was set, like, 10 feet off the ground. I wish I had pictures of some of this stuff. I never did take pictures. I mean, I'm sure if I look through stuff, I have pictures. Like, I have a picture up there of, like, my grandma sitting out there with the dog and stuff like that. I could find pictures. of these rooms in my house and stuff from back in the day. I have a picture of Caroline and I in the library, and I have some other pictures that I could show you guys where you'd have a better idea. But I wish I could like go in that house and do like a video of like, not what it looks like today, but what it looked like then. You know, I wish, but I mean, we had, you know, video cameras that are so outdated now, but we didn't have like phones and stuff like that. But I wish I had that, you know, to like have memories of the house and show that. But anyway, my mom had on the ground a fern that, I mean, she kept alive for like years and years. It was like, I don't even remember it being in a pot. I just remember it being like in a hanging basket kind of thing, but she didn't keep it hanging. She kept it on the ground. And it was just a fern that she had like on the ground that was huge, that she like on the carpet, that she kept out on the porch. I mean, for years on end, she kept it like in every season, you know? So maybe I'll take that and put it in the upstairs bathroom. I've kind of wanted, because we don't use our bathtub because it leaked years ago, and the guy that came to fix it, like until we redo our bathroom, we don't use the bathtub because it leaked years ago. And the guy that came and fixed it, he like cut it off, but like he didn't do a great job fixing it. He like just like patched up like the bathroom because it was leaking down into the bathroom underneath, and he like patched it up, but he just did not do a great job, and he like shut off everything to do with the bathtub. Hey, how are you? Good. And so we don't use our bathtub right now. In all honesty, I have like several bags from things I bought, like from, you know, like stuff that we use in the, you know, in the bathroom, like Q-tips and shampoo and conditioner and things like that. I just have it sitting in there because I haven't put it in the closet yet. And that was actually one of my goals while Alex is gone, was to go through all that stuff. And then what I like to do is kind of maybe keep some plants. We actually do have some plants. Well, we have one plant in our bathroom. We have like a little small palm tree that doesn't really take a lot of care. Like we water it like once a month, and that's like all we need to do. So I was thinking about like maybe taking that fern and putting it in the bathtub, because you know, like people like sometimes have like plants in their bathtub and stuff like that if they don't use their bathtub. I was thinking about maybe doing that. I think I said that last summer too, and I didn't do it. Well, I was kind of worried about the bugs being in there, and then the bugs being upstairs in the bathroom and stuff like that. But I feel like after a while that would probably go away, right? So I don't know. We don't really have anywhere downstairs to like hang a plant. I will say this. I love to keep the flowers out here in the summer and on the back porch, which we haven't even used the back porch at all this summer. I keep on thinking we need to get out there and have a little cheese night or something, or cheese and hummus night, or we need to do a screening of a movie or something with the projector and Alex's screen, but we haven't done that yet. I actually, speaking of which, because I was thinking of some things that we could do like during our anniversary week if we stay here and kind of make it special. And so I was thinking we could do that one night. We could like watch like, you know, a movie like on the projector and have like a romantic little night out there with like fruit and cheese and hummus and stuff like that. I looked at like the week and the 2 weeks after, the week after our anniversary is Labor Day weekend. So I looked at that weekend. I looked at the weekend after that. And I believe I looked at the weekend after that to go to Las Vegas. And in all honesty, it just gets even more expensive. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is ridiculous. I mean, it's outrageously expensive. And it kind of made me sad. I was like, I really want to go to Vegas right now, but I really don't want to kind of spend this kind of money. And then I was like, well, maybe we could look at one of our other favorite places. And I was like, the problem is, I don't want to go somewhere where it's going to be like full-on thunderstorms the whole week. I mean, that's the thing about going to Vegas in August, even though it's like so hot and so dry. I don't mind that. I don't mind that heat of like 90 to 100 degrees because it's so dry that you don't really feel it, and you can get in and out of the pool, you know? But there's not really a threat of like thunderstorms and stuff like that, versus like we went to Miami. God, it's been like 5 or 6 years ago now. I don't even, no, maybe not. Probably 5 years ago now, something like that, for our anniversary. And it was literally, like, every day it was like thunderstorms. I remember one night we went out to dinner, and like halfway through dinner it started like pouring down rain. And we had to run from, which we now, like where we usually stay, it's so far away from like the restaurants that we go to that, and we usually do walk, but you're talking about 10 blocks, you know, 15 blocks versus before, when we were like 3 or 4 blocks from our hotel. And I remember that night that it was pouring down rain, which was like the first night, and then like the next 3 days after that, it just poured down rain the whole time. We were stuck in the hotel room. And the hotel that we stayed in at that time was really small. It was a cute hotel, but it was really small. And there wasn't really, you couldn't go anywhere and do anything. We talked about going to a movie and stuff like that. I remember, and Alex was like, we can just stay in the room and watch movies. Like, we don't, you know, need to go anywhere. It was, I mean, torrential downpours for like the entire time that we were there. And that night, I remember we ran back. And by the time that we got back, we were literally like I don't even think we were 3 blocks. I think we were 2 blocks from our hotel. This restaurant that we were at, it was on Ocean Drive. We literally were soaking wet by the time that we got back to our hotel. So to go to like Mexico or the Caribbean or something like that in August, I mean, it's a rainy season. And again, that's an expensive trip. So I'm going to Arizona. Alex is going to a conference with 2 of his girlfriends. He asked me if I wanted to go, and I said, you just go and have a good time. Like, you know, you have fun with that. I don't need to do that. And then we have Fufu's wedding in October, which will be a lot of fun. And then we are going to try to go to Mexico or somewhere else for New Year's. But I think we're going to do the Mexico. The couple that we were going to meet, they are like unsure now whether or not they're going to go there. And they're kind of looking at some places in Tulum. And so like smaller hotels in Tulum. So we're thinking about maybe doing that too. So we're not sure. For New Year's, but maybe doing something different, a little different experience. Melissa and Jason, when we went out to dinner the other night, they were talking about some different places that we could possibly go for New Year's as well, because they were wanting to do something and get out of town. So I don't know. We'll have to kind of like take a look and see what's out there, but yeah. I kind of wish I had gone to the pool earlier. I don't think there were many people up there at the pool today. It sounded like there were people up there, but when I looked, because I can see if I stand on the other side of the street, I can see like kind of to the pool. I mean, I can see enough of the pool to see if there's like a lot of people like laying out or sitting up there, and it didn't look like there were anybody up there. But then I heard kids, and it sounded like there were kids in the pool, but I didn't see anybody up there, so I don't know if there was kids like riding their bikes in the neighborhood or whatever, you know. So I should have gone to the pool with one of my neighbors and just like gotten to it. And I saw that my neighbor, she just came home a little bit ago, so maybe I'll text her and be like, hey, you want to run up to the pool and just get in for a dip or something like that. So yeah, there's a nice cool breeze out though, I will say that, even though it's so hot tonight. Yesterday it was hot and there was no breeze at all, but tonight there's a nice breeze. If it was a little bit cooler, like Alex's allergies, my allergies are bad this year, but Alex's allergies are like off the chart. He has such horrible allergies. So we can never open our windows because like as soon as we open our windows, he's just like sneezing and like runny nose. He's like, you know, like crazy. I sit outside so much and I take my allergy medicine and it usually works. I will say it's starting to wear off earlier than it used to. Like around 10 or 11 o'clock at night, I start like my nose run. Like I always have to, when I'm watching shows, keep a Kleenex out here with me to blow my nose and stuff like that. But if it were cooler, I would open the bedroom window upstairs and have like a cool breeze tonight coming through. Maybe it will drop a little bit lower and I can open the window because it is a really nice breeze outside tonight. Don't you love a good breeze? Oh my God. When I was a kid, my mom, I've shared this so many times, but my mom did not like love air. She didn't like paying for air conditioning. She didn't love air conditioning, which I always thought was so funny. The older I got and I kind of understood air conditioning, because she would open all the windows and turn off the air conditioning at about 6 p.m. Like even before the sun set, you know, because in Indiana, well, I'm sure everywhere, right? But the sun wouldn't set till like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, if not later, right? But she would turn off the air conditioning at like 6 p.m. and open all the windows when it started to cool down a little bit. And what would happen is, like, if it was inside, it was, like, set at, like, 69 or 70. It would, of course, over the course of the night, like, be cool. But then by the morning, it would go back up and be, like, 85, right? So the house would be, like, 85. It would be so hot. And then she would turn on the air conditioning again. When I got older, I was like, you do realize that you're spending huge amounts of money to, like, re-air conditioning the house every day. And she'd be like, that's not true. And I'm like, yeah, Mom, it is true. Like, you open, because she would do that when she lived here, and there's like no ventilation between the windows because we have literally like 1, 2, 3 windows on our entire house. And so she would like turn the air conditioning off, open the windows, all the windows upstairs, and then it would get cool because we were in the woods. Our house was like set back into the woods next to a creek. And so over the night, it would get to like 60. It stopped. It would get to like 60, you know, or like the upper 50s. And so it, like in the house, it like in the woods, it got so like low that it would like really cool the house down and stuff like that. And plus it was so nice just to like hear the breeze and, you know, smell the woods and all that kind of stuff. And you could hear the creek, you know, running behind our house. It was really nice. And I think that was part of it for her too, that she just really liked the sounds of nature and things like that. You have to remember, this was before we had like, you know, apps on your phone and, you know, Alexa and things like that that could play like nature sounds and whatever, you know. So, I mean, and plus, like I always say to Alex that I like to stay in oceanfront places so you can hear the waves. And he's like, well, you can hear the waves like on your phone. Like you can just have Alexa play waves. And I'm like, it's not the same like as having waves, you know. And like when I was watching my shows in Mexico, like we had an oceanfront room. And even though we were probably, I don't know, like 200 feet from the ocean, like you could still hear the crashing of the waves. And so while I was out there watching my show, I could hear the crashing of the waves at night, you know, or see like the cruise ships, like, or the barges or whatever they were, you know, like way off, whatever they are, you know, the industry boats. Do we call them industry? I don't know what they are, like anyway, those boats, you know, way off in the distance, you could see their lights and stuff like that, which I thought was so pretty. But yeah, like we would have you know, the sounds and the smells of nature when I was growing up, and I loved it. At like, you know, when I would wake up at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and want to, you know, a metal glass or metal can of water, you know, like Little House on the Prairie, and I loved it because it was so cool in our house. I wear my little shorty pajamas and stuff like that. But I would wake up in the morning, and I woke up early because I, you know, typically went to I typically went to tennis camps, so I had to get up early to go to those tennis camps. But like even by like 6:37 in the morning in the summer, it was like so hot that I'm like, my pajamas are sticking to me, and I'm sweaty and stuff like that, you know. So it was like, and I'm like had all the sheets kicked off of me. It was so hot and stuff, you know. But I did love that. My neighborhood is so nice. This couple's walking down the street, this older couple, and there was like this huge like branch in the middle of the street, and he like that had blown over there, and he like picked it up and like put it in the yard so that people like wouldn't drive over it or walk. See, people are so nice in my neighborhood. I miss those summers, you know. I miss like on rainy days, my mom and I would go to the library, and she'd say, you can get as many books as you want. I'd have this huge pile of books, and she'd say, you're not going to read all those books. And I'd say, yes, Mom, I promise I am. And I'd come home, and I'd put them all out on the floor, you know, in my bedroom, and I would look at all the books. And I got so excited about falling into the world of a book. I loved, like, Amelia Bedelia, and I loved, like, Nate the Great. When I got older, like 3rd or 4th grade, I read a lot of those, like, John Blair's books. And Choose Your Own Adventure books. I loved those Choose Your Own Adventure books. I had all of them. And I love the Roald Dahl books, you know, like James and the Giant Peach and all of those. Speaking of books, Tani said that she watched Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, and she said it was really, really good. She compared it to some other movie, Now and Then. Do you guys remember that movie? I think Demi Moore was in it. She compared it to that movie, and she's like, it's really good. And I said, so I should watch it? She's like, oh yeah, I think you would really enjoy it. So I'm thinking about it. She was like, I loved that book when I was growing up. And I was like, yeah. I always say it was by Beverly Cleary when I think it was by Judy Blume, right? Like I always get it confused. Who wrote Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing? I got that from my nephew last year because he was in 4th grade and he was so excited. I was like, have you ever heard of Super Fudge or Tale of a Fourth Grade Nothing? He's like, no, because he loves to read. And but he reads like all of those. What are the books that Carlitos likes to read? He's a big reader, which I'm so happy about, right? Because I can always get him books. Fufu, my brother-in-law that's getting married, he's going to be 30 this year. He was a big reader too, and so when Alex and I started dating, he was really into the Percy Jackson books. And so whenever we would have dinner with like Alex, like Alex's mom and Fufu and stuff, and her boyfriend at the time, like I would always like stop at Barnes & Noble and get like the newest Percy Jackson book or like some other book similar to that. There was like a book called Holes that he really liked by this guy that was building these underground tunnels, and so I'd always buy him those books. Fufu loves to read too, and he really got into Dan Brown for a while because we were talking a lot about that because he really liked the Dan Brown books, the Da Vinci Code and all of those books. There's like 2 of those that I haven't read that I actually bought on Audible. Digital Fortress, I think, is one of them that I started reading and I never finished it, so I bought the Audible version of it. Actually, that's not true. I think I do have it on Audible, but the way that I have it was somebody reached out to me years ago, and please don't do this again, I don't need any more books. But it was so kind. Somebody reached out to me and said they were getting rid of their Audible, and they had like 10 credits. I think it was even more than that. I think it was like 12 or 14 credits or something that they wanted to like gift to me. And so, and I was like, no, you don't have to do that. And they're like, no, like I'm seriously, like I'm not going to use them. Like, and I know how much you love Audible. And I was like, no, like seriously, like I feel bad about it. And they're like, no, like I'm not going to use them. Like I have all these credits built up and I'm not going to use Audible anymore. So let me gift them to you. Well, what I found out is that you have to like, you can't just gift somebody your Audible credits, but like you can go in and with a credit, you can buy that book and then gift that book to somebody. And so she was like, well, what books do you want? And I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, I feel so bad about it. And she was like, seriously, like this would make me so happy. So I was like, okay. So I like went through and I like wrote up a whole list of like all the books on Audible that at that time I wanted, which a lot of them were older. And like I think I got The Mist by, what's his name, Dean Koontz. Is that who wrote? No, Stephen King wrote The Mist. What was the book? I think Stephen King wrote The Mist. What was the book about the aliens? Dean Koontz wrote the book about the aliens. I read it when I was in St. Lucia with my ex. Oh my god, it was one of the best books about aliens I've ever read. The aliens come to this small town. Do you guys know? What's that book called? I don't have my phone with me, so I can't look it up, but I loved that book. But anyway, so yeah, that book, The Taking is what it was called, I think. And so a bunch of other books that I like hadn't read in years, and some new ones too. And like I gave her the list, and then they were all like in my Audible, and I was like, oh my god, that was so nice. She was so sweet. Like I think she had to email them to me, and then I had to like claim them on Audible or whatever. But that was so sweet. That's like probably one of the nicest gifts. Alex always asks me, he's like, what do you want? I'm like, you can just give me like Audible credits and whatever. He's like, I'm not gonna. You have enough Audible books. I'm like, well, you asked me what I wanted, right? That was such a nice gift, though. So thank you, if you're still out there watching, because I don't remember who did it, but it was really kind, and it was really gracious, and I loved that gift. What was I talking about? Oh, but I loved, like, go to the library on rainy days and then spread out all my books on my bedroom floor and, like, read them. I used to love to read as a kid. If it was raining outside in the summer, I'd read. And before I went to bed, I always read before I went to bed. And then my mom, she would come in and put me to sleep. This was when I was real young. And she would lay on the floor next to my bed, because I had a bunk bed, and she would like lay on the floor next to it. And that's when we would play like old time radio tapes, like The Shadow and stuff like that. Only the Shadow knows. And I had this E.T. sleeping bag, you know, E.T. the extraterrestrial. I had this E.T. sleeping bag. I also had a Snoopy one, too. And she would put the sleeping bag down with a pillow, and then she would lay down there, and sometimes she would fall asleep. I had this, like, tape player thing that my mom and dad had that had, like, this little TV on it that was real little like this. That you had to, like, tune, you know, like, to watch, like, TV stations and whatever. And so it had like a tape player, a little TV that was like this big. I don't think I have that anymore. I think it ended up breaking and I threw it out or something. But it had a little TV in it, and it had like a handle on it that you could carry places and stuff. Oh, I think my dad got it for the sailboat actually. And then my mom started using it because when he first got his sailboat, I thought they had 2 sailboats, but that was my dad's partner that had 2 sailboats. When my dad first got the sailboat, he was still with my mom. My mom did not like the sailboat at all. It scared the hell out of her. So he had this for the sailboat, and then she took it, and then when they got separated, she just kept it. So it wasn't like my dad was watching a lot of TV on the boat anyway, like he could care less, you know. But anyway, those were good summers. Kind of, you know, sweet, innocent summers, playing games in the neighborhood and eating over at the neighbors' houses, hot dogs and stuff like that. fun times. I can remember getting out of school on the last day of school and just feeling like relieved, like, oh my God, I have the whole summer ahead of me, you know? Feeling so blessed. I didn't have to go back to school for 3 months. You know, I just had, it was like total freedom. And then I think it was always like a week before I started tennis camps. And I think tennis camps went to like the middle of July or something, or maybe like the first week of July. They weren't the whole summer, I remember. But I did these pretty intensive tennis camps where we did conditioning, and then it was like they would have this huge round robin, and the woman that ran them, I became very close friends with her family, and but I can remember that she had this ginormous house. She doesn't live in it anymore, but she had this ginormous house with a swimming pool and tennis courts and stuff like that. And she would have had a huge party, because this tennis camp was like kids from like 4 years old all the way through like seniors in high school. And then there were like, you know, coaches and stuff like that that like worked these, that were in high school and college, that worked these camps. And I mean, they were really good tennis players, you know, some of them state ranked and stuff like that. So she would have this huge party every year. And I remember I didn't want to go to this party because I didn't really know anybody from my camp, but I made this one friend. I know I've shared this story on here before, but I made this one friend, and I remember, like, whatever age group you were in, you had to bring something, and we had to bring a dessert, and I didn't want to go. And my mom, like, she became friendly, I think, with this kid's mom, if I remember it correctly. I don't remember how it went, but he was going to go, and so my mom was like, he's going to go, you need to go. Like, this will be good for you. You know, you can hang out, and aren't you going to be sad, stuff like that, and if you don't go. And I was like, no, and I didn't want to go. I think I was, this is probably like 2nd or 3rd grade or something like that. I don't remember how old I was, but, I mean, I was young still, and so, and I didn't make a lot of friends at this camp, but this one year I had made this like kind of friend. And so at the last minute, he like pulled out and couldn't go. I think he got sick or something. I don't know. I mean, it's been 50 years. I don't remember. It's been 45 years. I have no clue. I don't remember, but I remember he didn't go. And so my mom was like, well, I still think it would be good for you to go, and I want you to go. And I was like, okay. So it's always interesting to me when like my friends, like, they'll say like, I really want my child to do this, but like, and I'm not just saying like a sport or something like that. I'm talking about like I want my child to go to a therapist, but they won't go, you know? And I'm like I never had that option. Like, if my parents said you're going to a therapist, I went to a therapist. If my parents said you're going to go to this, you know, end of the year party for tennis camp, like, I went. Like, it wasn't like I was like, no, I'm not going to go. I was never that kid, you know? There's those neighbors walking down the street. Did you have chili tonight?
No. Gotta save that chili.
What'd you have?
We only do it once a year.
That is a lie. What'd you have?
Meatloaf. I don't eat meatloaf.
I know, because you're a vegetarian like me. So what'd you have?
I had meatloaf and rice and beans and a big salad.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, rice and beans is good.
It's a beautiful evening. It was supposed to rain.
Yeah, it does look like it. I'm gonna have to water.
What are you pointing at in my yard?
It's looking pretty. I can see the flowers.
It's Weed Central. This weekend, I'm getting on it. This is my plan for this weekend. Yeah, that's what I'm waiting. It's hot today. It'll literally take me a half an hour.
We have company coming in from the West Coast, and I hate to do that.
Yeah. Well, have fun. Enjoy your walk. Oh, look at him. He's being so good. Even though his mom's tripping over him. Oh, there's another guy walking down the street with his dog. That dog is cute. This guy that walked down the street, I've never seen him before. His dog looked like, do you remember in 101 Dalmatians, the Midnight Howl, and the guy that's like that's trying to like, the one dog that's trying to like relay, hey, bye. That's trying to like relay the message to the other dogs. It's kind of like a shaggy dog. That's what that dog looked like, with like, he had like real low, like little like legs and stuff. He was real cute. Anyway, so this party, like, I didn't want to go to. I know there's a lot of parents that are going to be like, what am I supposed to do? And my kids tell me they don't want it. I didn't have an option. I don't know. I don't know where that parenting came from. I don't know why I didn't challenge my parents on that. I wasn't a whiner and a crier. I cry now. Okay, but I didn't back then. I can remember one time, like, when Alex first met my dad, Alex made some joke about me being an only child and was like, well, was Peter spoiled and blah, blah. And my dad, like, about came out of his seat. And he said Peter was never that only child. He was like, Peter always shared his toys with people. Peter was always kind. Peter always wanted to, you know, have friends and things like that and blah, 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 whatever. And he was like, no, he was never the epitome of an only child of, like, what that, you know, people say that is and whatever. He was, you know, whatever. I never, like, challenged my parents on stuff. If they told me that I had to go here, I went there. You know, I did that. I don't know why I did that. That was how I was raised. I didn't, you know, like, if my mom said something, I didn't want to do it. My dad would say, you're not going to challenge your mom on this. Like, no, she tells you to do something, you do it. You respect your mom, you know? And that was way after they were separated and divorced, you know? And my parents were not, like, they did not wield and, you know, punish me. I mean, they weren't mean. Like, they had conversations with me and they talked about respect and, you know, of elders and things like that. So, no, I don't know why, but, like, anyway, my mom told me I was going to this party, so I went to this party. She said it would be good for me to, like, interact with everybody. She's like, plus, it's the end of the year, and don't you want to say goodbye to all your friends? I had no friends, you know, she didn't know that because I didn't say that to her. But there's one friend that I did have that was, like, my age group. He wasn't going. So, anyway, my mom made this fruit pizza on whole wheat or something like that. That was the dessert that I was supposed to bring to this thing, right? So I went in and, like, around the pool, they had this, like, beautiful pool, and but, like, most of the party was, like, down on the tennis court, and they had, like, 2 tennis courts, and so most of the party was, like, down those tennis courts. Yes, this was their house. It was unbelievable. The house to this day is still in that neighborhood, and it's gorgeous. And I actually used to, like, vlog in this neighborhood. I would drive around sometimes and show you guys houses and stuff. And it's a beautiful neighborhood. It's called Williams Creek in Indianapolis. It's unbelievable. It's like, these are like $1 million to $5 million homes that are like old. Like, they're like, some of these houses were around when my mom was in high school. So anyway, this was a beautiful house, gorgeous. And very like English Tudor and, you know, gorgeous pool, 2 tennis courts and whatever. But anyway, so the pool was where all the food was, but the tennis court was where the people were, like, all like the teenagers and stuff were hanging out. And so I can remember I, like, went up there and, like, I don't know, somebody, like, directed me to where to put the dessert or whatever. I can't remember exactly how it was, but there was, like, a table of desserts, a table of, you know, appetizers and whatever. I put my dessert up there. So anyway, I, like, kind of walked around for a little bit, didn't really know anybody, didn't talk to anybody, and then I ended up just, like, sitting on this, like, chair or the diving board or something for, like, the end of the party. I mean, I sat there for, like, 2 hours. They played music over the speakers. I remember at one point, towards the end, they played that song, Only the Lonely. And, was that the song that they played? Something about lonely. It was something lonely. Loneliest People, or what's that song? Anyway, something about being lonely. And I can remember, like, I so fixated on that song. And, which is weird because I've had other moments like that. Like, I remember one time with my dad's partner. He always had boats, too, and my dad did. My dad's business partner. And so we were supposed to go out and meet them one day, and they were, like, out on the water still. And, like, we were sitting in the car waiting because they were supposed to, like, dock their boat. And, like, it wasn't supposed to rain that day, and it got, like, really bad, and they were still out on the boat. And I remember the song on the radio was Dust in the Wind, and I got, like, really scared for them. And I always connect that song to this day. If I hear that song, I always think of that moment. But anyway, Only the Lonely or some lonely song or something like that came on, and I was listening to it, and I thought, I can remember thinking to myself, I have no friends. Like, I literally have no friends, and I'm ready for this tennis camp thing to be over. And then somebody came up to me and was like one of the teenagers. I mean, people were always real nice to me in tennis camp. The thing was, I was really good from a very young age at tennis. I was, like, just naturally really gifted. And so I got a lot of respect from being good, you know? Which I think is so interesting when you look at, like, kind of society. It's like, if you're really good at something, like, people just give you respect, and other people, like, they have to work hard for it and they don't get that respect, you know? It's like, but because I was just naturally talented, and I always, like, if there was a ranking, I was always, like, 1 or 2, you know? Like, I just got, like the teenagers always, like, were very nice to me and stuff like that. I mean, nobody was mean to me in the tennis camp. I just didn't have any friends. I wasn't close to anybody. But one of the teenagers came up and said, Peter, your mom is outside waiting for you to pick you up. So I went to the dessert. I don't know why I always remember this, but I was always so protective of my mom. Like, not knowing, like, people bullying me or talking about me or anybody thinking anything or whatever, right? And I remember I went to the dessert tray and not one person had, it was like on this, like, metal, like, pizza tray thing. And I remember not one person had taken any, I don't believe, if I remember correctly, that they had taken one bite of this fruit whole wheat pizza at all that my mom concocted, right? And I remember I like had it, and I was like walking out, and like her car was in like this long driveway that they had that I had to walk all the way up to. I remember I was so lonely walking up this driveway to go to this party that I didn't want to go to. Probably where part of my social anxiety comes from is having to go to things like this, and just like I'm here and I didn't know anybody, you know? But I remember, like, as I was walking out to her car, I, like, ditched the pizza, like, in the bushes, because I didn't want my mom's feelings to be hurt that nobody ate her pizza, her fruit pizza. And I remember somebody, like, where do you get that at a young age? Like, you know, where do you get that at 7, 8 years old, that you want to protect your parent from having hurt feelings because you've had hurt feelings, you know? Like, I think that's interesting when I look back on it. You know, people have said things to me, like, through the years, like, when I go to see psychics or mediums, that this is, like, your last life cycle, or you learn lessons very young, or you're an old soul, and sometimes I think about that, you know, like, what if this is my last life cycle? I'm a believer that we come back until lessons are learned and things like that, you know, and it is something that I spiritually believe, that this is not my first time here, and I've been here many times to learn many different lessons, and that's the purpose of our life, is to learn lessons and to grow as spirit and soul. And I'm like, what if this is my last time here? And it's like moments like that where I think, like, where did I learn that empathy at such a young age? Maybe by going through similar things, that I wanted to protect my mom. Like, where does that innate come from? You know, that's kind of more of something that you get as you get older. Like, I feel more of that now at 51 than I did then, but like, I always had that in me to protect my mom from people being mean to me. Like, I didn't want her to know that, you know? I think because I was so protective of her, thinking that she was a bad parent, which she wasn't, you know? And at that time, I wasn't even like, I don't even know that I was that conscious, even though it was occurring, of how deep the drinking was, like how deep the alcoholism was. Like, yes, I would be at my dad's house and call her, and she would answer her phone and be drunk, and then we would have a conversation the next day. She would apologize for it. But like, I don't know that I conceptualized like mom's an alcoholic. Like, I got that it was bad, but I don't know, like, that wasn't why I was protective of her, you know? That, I don't know, I just always was. And of my dad, honestly. My dad was a very strong guy and stood up for himself. Like, I was always very protective of him as well. So I don't know where that came from, but I remember getting into the car after I ditched this pizza in the bushes, and my throat was starting to itch like crazy. And my mom was like, "Did you have a good time?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Did you talk to friends?" I was like, "Yeah." I, you know, always just kind of said this kind of thing. She's like, "Do people like the pizza?" I was like, "Oh yeah, Mom, people like the pizza." It's weird what you remember, isn't it? And that was like one night of my entire life, and like it had such a significant meaning, you know? Like, I'm just kind of rolling through my memory. I'm like, what are like nights that like really stood out to me, you know? Like, this was a profound moment. Like, what were profound moments for me? And I remember like the Halloweens that we had, but I'm specifically remembering one Halloween. For several years, like all the kids in the neighborhood, we would do a haunted house, and we always had it at our house because my mom only had one car in the garage, so she would just put it in the driveway, and then she would let us have the whole garage, and we would like, my mom's friend that lived across the street was an interior decorator, so she could get like party supplies and decorating supplies and stuff like that. So she'd get long sheets of paper to make like a maze through the garage, and then she'd get like huge reams of crepe paper to hang down for the mazes and stuff. And we would like literally tape like each one and stuff like that. It was so fun. But I remember this one year, my mom's sorority sister and her youngest daughter, who I was very close with, we ended up going to Beaver Island like when I was going into my sophomore year in high school. She would have been like 2 years behind me, so she would have been going into 8th grade, I think, at the time. And remember, we drove, and so from Indianapolis to Charlevoix, which is where you take the ferry over to Beaver Island, which was where my mom's best friend from high school lived, was a 9-hour drive. We stopped halfway there and stayed in a hotel overnight. I remember we went swimming and stuff like that. It was real fun. But I remember somewhere along the way, I bought it before, maybe at a gas station or something. It was called like Is Elvis Alive? And it was like a book on cassette, and she and I both, like, we listened to it like on my tape cassette, and like one of us had like one ear, and we were convinced we were going to find Elvis on this trip. Okay, I mean, I was going into 10th grade, she was going into 8th grade. We were convinced, and we were real close because our moms were so close. This was my mom's friend that was like such, like, her sorority sister, such a good friend in college. And like, they were diehard, really dear friends for like 10 years. Like, both of her daughters, her older daughter that was like a year or two older than me, and her younger daughter I was really close with. I mean, we hung out with them. I stayed over at their house. They stayed over at our house. Like, I mean, we were really, really close with them. And I remember when my mom was in the hospital, she came to visit because she lives in another city. And she came to visit, and the nurse said, "How do you know her?" to her. And this was when my mom was in the coma, and she said, and I didn't say anything or counter it, but I was so hurt by this, and she said, "Oh, we were divorced mothers together that just knew each other," or something. I thought, you diminish this relationship that my mom thought you were one of her dearest friends to we were just divorced mothers together? Like, seriously? But anyway, she was actually the person that took me for the very first time to see To Kill a Mockingbird, and she was also the woman that gave me, I considered her an aunt for a very long time, you know, and I considered her, my mom was very confused about their relationship later in life because she, I don't know, she just kind of like went off the grid and stopped talking to people and stuff like that. She became very angry. But she also gave me my very first copy of To Kill a Mockingbird and wrote in it and stuff like that about Scout and whatever, and she always said that the book, or she said the book is better than the play, because at that point I don't think I'd seen the movie. And then she took me to the play. We went with her daughters and my mom. We saw the play at IRT, Indianapolis, Indiana Repertory Theater, and then that was when I saw the movie after that, which became like one of my favorite, it is my favorite movie of life. I love that movie. I haven't seen it in a long time. So anyway, but I remember that Halloween one year when she came and her daughter was, oh, there's that cute dog again. Hi.
Hi.
What kind of dog is that? A mini birdie doodle.
Yeah, Bernese mountain dog and a poodle mix.
Oh my lord, so cute. Is it a he or a she?
It's a she.
Oh, she's so sweet.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good night.
You too. That was the dog I was talking about. A mini Bernie doodle. So cute. Black and white. Looked kind of like Boo Radley a little bit, but like longer hair. It was real cute. He was so friendly. He must have had all veneers because his teeth I could see were like glaring from the street, but he was real nice. But anyway, I remember they came for Halloween. The woman across the street, she would always like bring this big plate of cookies from Roslyn Bakeries, like all these like witches and pumpkins decorated like icing. I mean, these were expensive cookies from back in the day from Roslyn Bakery, where we used to always go after church. And my mom would make a big pot of chili and all this kind of stuff, and the cookies were just for us that had done like the haunted house, and we would take rounds and go trick-or-treating, and then we would like work the haunted house and whatever. And she came, and I remember that year I was dressed as a waiter, and had like, you know, my little, anyway, like a very serious waiter, you know, in a restaurant, and with like a white apron and like a tuxedo on and stuff like that. And she came as a bag of jelly beans, her daughter that I was friends with, and she had like a clear plastic bag with all these like balloons underneath it, and she was a bag of jelly beans. But anyway, I remember that year because after everybody left and I had like gone through my candy like on the porch, I would like pull my, you know, throw my bag down on the porch and go through all the candy and look and like sort it out, you know, Snicker bars. And my mom loved Three Musketeers, so she'd always get all my Three Musketeer bars. But I would put like all of them down there, you know, Three Musketeers and this and that and whatever. And the battery's at the halfway mark, so I don't know when it's going to stop. I can't see where, I think I'm at like 28 or 29 minutes, I don't know. But if it stops, I'll go get the other battery. Hopefully it's charged by now. But anyway, I'm not going to vlog for a whole lot longer. I said this was going to be a short vlog tonight. Now I'm almost at an hour. I can't believe it. So anyway, I did say I was going to do some longer vlogs this week, so at least I got an hour in tonight. But kind of going down memory lane. Maybe I'll remember a few other memories and think back to a few other memories. But I remember that particular Halloween, because my mom and I would always watch some scary movie like on Halloween, not like Halloween, but we would watch something like The Blob or something like that, you know. And I remember like as my mom was like cleaning up in the kitchen and stuff, like I had my jammies on, my pajamas, and I can remember going to the garage door and like opening because we had a mud room, and so like the mud room like opened into the garage, and I can remember like looking at it and like turning on the light in the garage, and you could see like, I mean, I couldn't see through it because it still had, like, we hadn't taken it down yet because we didn't do that until, like, the next day. This was when, like, Halloween was always over fall break. So you always had Halloween the day and the day after off. So this was, like, this crap of them trying to, like, put Halloween on, like, a Tuesday the 30th because kids have school, that kind of stuff, you know, or like they have it on the Saturday before. I don't like all that kind of stuff. Y'all just need to give kids Halloween and the day after Halloween off, and give teachers that too, okay? Like, I love Halloween. Halloween's one of my favorite holidays. I always at work, that was like the first holiday of the year that it stopped. And it wasn't a holiday that you got paid double time for or anything like that. So people would always be like, why are you requesting this holiday off? I'm like, because Halloween is my favorite day of the year. I love Halloween. I didn't always get it off, but that was like the day that I would request off. So, and Christmas Eve. I like taking Christmas Eve off more than Christmas Day. So if I had to work one of those, I would rather work Christmas Day than Christmas Eve, because I love Christmas Eve. So anyway, Christmas Eve is just like magical to me. There's something about Christmas Eve. Christmas Day is okay, but it's kind of sad to me too, because like after all the presents are open, the dinner's done, it's like, okay, Christmas is done. Like, we've led up to all this and now it's over, you know? It's kind of like the letdown. Which is why it's exciting to have like a trip to go to for New Year's, because like then we have something to look forward to. But anyway, I remember standing there and looking out over the garage and like being real scary to me, you know, thinking, I don't know how old I would have been at this point, 3rd or 4th grade maybe, something like that. She would have been 1st or 2nd grade, maybe. Yeah, I think that probably would have been right. But I remember looking over the garage and being like, I was the only one, you know, it wasn't all these kids from the neighborhood, because there was a lot of kids that were older than me that were running the haunted house and stuff. I mean, it was a whole neighborhood thing. And so anyway, that was a good memory. Let's just like flashback and think about, you know, the memories of me like with my 2 girlfriends, Jessie and Katie. Like, I could just see us like on the electric box, which sat right behind like where home base would have been for the cul-de-sac where we played like baseball and kickball and all that kind of stuff. So the electric box was right behind home base, and sometimes the boys would let us play and sometimes the boys wouldn't let us play, or sometimes we wouldn't want to play, and so we would just sit there and swing our feet. You know, Peter, and it's like, I always talk about this, my terry cloth like matching shorts and tank top with a little pocket right here, and you know, my lip gloss in my little pocket and whatever. And we would just sit there and pop our gum. And one summer I remember was when Poltergeist came out, and we would pop our gum, we would take our gum and we would go like that. And I don't know why, but we used to always think that it was like, that popping of the gum looked like when Carol Ann comes out at the end of Poltergeist. She and her mom, she's holding on to her, and she comes out, we would say, come to the light, Carol Ann, come to the light. And we pop our gum. We used to always say that. But that kind of reminds me of summer. That box sat like to the right of our yard. So it was like, I was like right on the cul-de-sac. It was like 2 other houses in my house were right on the cul-de-sac. I loved growing up on a cul-de-sac. It was so fun. We'd walk down the street and talk to the neighbors, and they'd come out and give us a cookie. They'd be like, do you want a cookie? We'd be like, yeah, thank you, Mrs. Smith. And Mrs. Smith would go inside and give us a cookie, and she'd be like, what are you guys up to today? Oh, these boys won't let us play baseball today. They won't. Why not? Well, they just think they're too good for us. But that's okay. We would sit down in the grass while Mrs. Smith was watering her flowers or something like that. Not a whole lot's changed in my life. That's probably why I love talking to my neighbors now. Probably because it reminds me of those, you know, back in the day of talking to my neighbors and walking around the street. Those were fun days. I remember this one neighbor of ours. She was probably like, well, she was 2 houses. They were 2 houses down from us. There was actually another doctor that worked with my dad, and they were like, but they were around the street corner. But like from our back to their back was through the woods, and so you could see the back of their house. And she had this cowbell that she had like hanging on their back patio back door, and she would ring that thing when it was time for the kids to come home. We used to always laugh so hard. We'd be like, there she is, she's calling you home. But then whenever she would ring it, we kind of knew that that was like time for all of us to go inside. But you know, back then we would all go in for dinner early. Like sometimes we would eat over at each other's houses and stuff like that. But most of the time we would like go eat at, you know, our own houses and whatever. And like early, like 4:30 or 5. And then I can remember we would come back outside. We'd be like, can we go back outside, Mom, and play? And we'd go back outside. And they weren't having, that dog is beautiful too. It's like a really kind of a weird combination color of German Shepherd, but Alex really wants a German Shepherd. I'm not a huge German Shepherd fan, but Alex really wants one. But that was a beautiful German Shepherd. And I don't think I've ever seen her before in this neighborhood either. But anyway, we would always be like, Mom, can we go back out and play? Or whatever, you know. Like, I would be like, Mom, she'd be like, my mom was always like, yeah, sure, go out and play. And we'd play Ghosts in the Graveyard, or Light as a Feather, Stiff as a Board. Do you guys remember that? Where you try to like lift somebody up, or it was always like scary stuff at night, you know, hide and seek. But like, oh, flashlight, what was it? Flashlight tag, flashlight hide and seek, those things. We used to love to play with flashlights. Finding lightning bugs and catching lightning bugs. We'd always set them free though, you know. My dad used to say that when he was a little kid, that they would smear them on their foreheads and run around, you know, in the dark and whatever. I don't remember doing that. Maybe, but I don't think so. We used to make slip and slides because I always wanted one for our yard, but my mom would never let me have one. I think one year maybe she got one. I don't remember, but she always said we don't need those. So me and my friends, we would make like homemade slip and slides out of plastic bags in the yard because we had the flattest yard. So, but of course the flattest yard also had like tree roots underneath it. And so like, so you bump, 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 you'd like hurt yourself, right? And so like you'd have come out bruised and cut and stuff like that but we would make these, we always want to make super long. It's so funny because my neighbor, she doesn't do this anymore, but a couple years ago, she used to buy these huge sheets because we have this kind of like this like decline, like this area that kind of goes down in the backyard. And so for her birthday every year, she would make this like huge slip and slide. It was like probably like 15 feet across and probably like 50 feet, 60, 70 feet down of this plastic like material. And then she would just like have this hose going down it, and like all of her friends would just like slide down the slip and slide. It was hilarious. But anyway, we used to make a slip and slide out of like, we would like, you know, put the one garbage bag down and then overlap it and then overlap it and then overlap it, and then we would try to keep it like full of water. I can remember we were so serious about it. Like one person would go and they would splash all the water out. We've got to refill it. We've got to refill the slip and slides, you know, like, so we refill all the things. I can remember I would never want to pick it up at the end of the night because we would do it like all day long, and so I would wait till the next day, and then my mom would be so mad because she would come out and like, because of the water and everything like that, it turned the grass yellow. My mom would be like, you killed the grass and your slip and slide, we're not doing that anymore. I think that's why she never wanted to buy one of them. I feel like one year though we did buy one. I don't know why, but summers were fun. Always inventing stuff. I mean, this was like, I mean, I had video games. I had Atari and Nintendo and stuff like that. I was never real, like, addicted to it. Like, when I had sleepovers, which was very rare, or if I had, like, you know, like, friends in the neighborhood, if it rained or snowed or something like that, we would sometimes play video games, but not a lot. I don't remember playing video games a lot. I just was never really into video games. So, you know, it forced us to come up and invent games to play. We played in the woods a lot. We played in the creek. You know, we hunted for crawdads and turned over rocks, and they go scurrying and whatever, you know. We'd make little areas where tadpoles would swim in, and we'd make forts in the woods, and for days on end. I mean, this would be like something we'd come up with, and we'd be like, okay, we're going to make these forts, and then we're going to have a war and a battle, and then we would battle each other. I mean, that would last like 5 or 6, 7 days, you know, and then we'd be over it, and we'd go on to the next thing. Then it would be like a baseball tournament that we were going to do, you know. It was always something like that. It was always some big deal. Where we would play like the first 2 games, and me and my 2 girlfriends, we would get so bored of it. That's when we would walk around the neighborhood. The boys would be like, they're not serious about it. They're out of the league. So we'd be out of the league. We used to also play like tennis against the garage door, and I can remember our garage door because it was black. It was like, it had like tennis ball marks all over it, which was bad because it had the squares, and so every time you hit the tennis ball against it, it would like bounce back, but like it wouldn't bounce back evenly, you know. It would bounce back like to the right or to the left, and you'd go running after it. We roller skated in our driveway. Oh my god, I roller skated out there for hours as a little kid to Donna Summer. I'd sometimes put the stereo speaker in the window so you could hear it, but other times I have this like thing, I still have it in the basement actually. It was like this robot thing, and it played like 8-track cassettes, and I had the Donna Summer and I had the Xanadu, because, you know, Xanadu has that whole scene at the end with the muses where they are like, you know, that part, you know, Xanadu, dun 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 dun. I love that. Xanadu. But I love that whole movie, that whole montage at the very end, the roller skating rink and all that kind of stuff. And I would like get in my driveway and I would like play that soundtrack and imitate. And I thought I was one of the muses, you know, with the hair that like, I always loved the one where the girl had the hair that went like straight up like in a little, you know, tube thing. I always wanted to be her. I don't know why. But, and I would roller skate. My neighbor across the street, she'd come over and we would roller skate to Donna Summer and stuff like that. It was so much fun. We'd make ramps where we would go like up the ramps and down the ramps, you know. It'd be like 2 pieces of wood on a log, and so you go boom, 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 like that. I mean, it wasn't safe at all, but we did it as kids. Always inventing stuff, you know. It was just kind of expected us as kids with the woods and a street and other kids to play with and stuff like that, that if you were going to, like in the summer, you weren't inside. Like, you were outside, you know. You were coming up with things to do. Like, I mean, like, it was kind of expected, you know. All right, so the red light is blinking, which means my battery is dying. So, and the old man is crying. So it's time for me. It's raining, it's pouring. The old man is snoring. That's what I titled my video the other day. So I got to get off here real quick, okay? And I did go an hour and 10 minutes, which is a little bit longer than usual. So anyway, first of all, I just want to say I hope that you guys are having a magically amazing Thursday and that you're having a really good week so far. And if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And remember these 3 very important things. 1, you can start your day over or your week over if you want. Whenever you need to, whenever you want, you can start your day or your week over. 2, practice random acts of kindness, but shh, don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone. And 3, most importantly, make sure that you reach out to somebody and let them know how much they mean to you. Like I always say, you might be putting a smile on their face. You might be changing their day for the better. You might be making them feel happier, and you might be making them feel not so alone. You might be making them feel not so all alone. Also, be kinder to one another, love one another a little bit more, and most importantly, be kinder and love yourselves a little bit more, because why? It all starts with you. And I love you guys so much, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Love you. Oh, and for those that want to hear it, and those that need to hear it, and those that just happen to stick around, one more I love you. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love you. Happy birthday, Lena, and happy summer.